Okay, so I figure what I'm going to do is I did just post a second version of the dissertation template in our, what's it called, WhatsApp. So I posted one yesterday, and I knew when I posted it that I was going to regret that passcode. Whoa, she's not doing it with the link. Hang on a second. Will you? Okay, whoops, no, not enter, send. All right, so anyway, I sent it out and knew that as soon as I sent it out, I was going to wind up making a change at some point. And I did. I wound up adding an appendix because it does have to be done a little bit differently than you might be used to doing it. So I added that to the template, and we're going to go through all of it. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And at any point, if you guys have a question about anything I've just said, interrupt me. I don't tend to watch the chat. So just unmute or if you're not muted anyway, but just interrupt and ask. All right, so I'm going to motor through. You guys can see the 2 pages side by side with the title of dissertation on both pages, correct? Okay. So this is the file that I sent out to you guys. And as I said, I just uploaded one about 5 minutes ago that is now the template you should actually use, not the one from yesterday. So I've set this up so that it's very automatic. It's based on the dissertation guide that we have. And I also went online and found a bunch of DBA dissertations that are posted from just the last 2 years. So this main page are the words that they want us to have on our DBA dissertation. Over here, this signature page, that is the verbiage that they want us to use. I set it up exactly the way it's supposed to be. So all you're going to do is come in, type your title of your dissertation. These 2 pages are tied together. So what I mean by that is if I change this title, let me grab the whole thing. I'm just going to change it to dissertation title. As soon as I click away from that, watch what happens on the second page. Right now we have dissertation title and title of dissertation. I click on that, and now both of them say exactly the same thing, dissertation title. So it doesn't matter where you make that change to page 1 or page 2, wherever you make the change, the other page will also update at the same time. So you don't have to think about where you have to make the change, just make it in one place and it stays standardized. Obviously you'll go in and you'll update the names and titles of your people. You'll add your own stuff, but this is the basic format that they want us to use, and so that's already in this template. Anyone have any questions on what I just showed you? Okay, I'm going to go on then. So this is where really what it comes down to, and Laura asked for a workshop on using headers and the table of contents. And that's where this workshop started, but instead I kind of made you guys a full template. But this is where the most important stuff happens. So first of all, you have to use headers. And I set up this template. So up here across this toolbar at the top, you see body, title, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. Whoops, I actually have some stuff that I had clicked on. You must use these headers. You can't go in anymore in Word and just select your line, hit bold, hit italics, or whatever it is. You have to use headers. And the reason you have to use headers is because of this table of contents. This table of contents will update itself for you if you're using headers. So all of this right here was generated automatically by Word. I did not type any of that. I did not add periods across the line. I did not have to look at what page anything was on. Word will generate it for you based on the headers that you select. So again, you must use headers. And I will go through all the different headers and how to use them. But first, I just wanted to go through the template and then get into the different parts of it. So see right here on this page 4, Roman numeral 4. By the way, notice that on table of contents, there's no page number. And on list of tables, there is. The reason for this is that the DBA guide that they've given us says that the very first page of table of contents does not have a page number. But once you go onto the second page of the table of contents, that is the first page that a page number will show up. This is set up that way. I did have a little bit of difficulty getting that, so thank you to Mo's coworker who fixed it instantly. But it is set up properly. So once you get to the point where you have a second table of contents, the page number will show up on that page the way they want it to, exactly the way they want it to. And that is not an easy thing to do. So do use this template as the start of your dissertation so that it's already going to happen for you. On this list of tables, this, and you'll see right here, list of tables is showing up in the table of contents. That's because this was done using a header one. And I'll talk about how that works and why that works. But that's the reason why this list of tables is showing up in the table of contents, is I used a header. And you'll see that it says list of tables, page 4. Here we are, list of tables, page 4. Word tracks that. And right now it says no table or figure entries found. Don't delete that. That is an automatic message that Word is simply saying, hey, you don't have any tables right now, so I can't create a list of them and page numbers for you. But once we have one, and I am going to go through that process and show you how to add one, how to do the captions. Once we come back up here and update this table, it will then show the title of the table, and it will give it a page number. Same thing, list of tables. We also have list of figures, works exactly the same way. For chapter 1, so instead of like our normal papers where we have the title of the document here, this is chapter 1. Then I go into what the APA headers are, what the rules are just for APA. And you'll see up here across this styles thing at the top in the toolbar, it has those headers and it already is set up to follow these rules. So when you select, for example, header 1, it's going to be bold and centered. When you select heading 4, it's going to be bold and indented 1/2 inch. That happens automatically when you use these styles. So not only if you use the styles will Word update the table of contents, it will also make the format correct and you don't have to keep looking up what are the rules for header 4 or header 5. For the references page, you're just going to use header 1 for references. And then I do have some additional styles. We'll go through each of them, but you can read through here and get the information about how it's set up and what you're supposed to use. Then I have instructions on exactly how to add tables and figures. I'm not going to read through this because I'm going to show you how to do it, but you can either use the video link or you can come back to the template and read the instructions. When you do your start writing your dissertation, I recommend doing a save as so that you can keep these instructions as you go through your dissertation without like overwriting it. All right, I've been talking now for about 7 minutes without taking a breath. Anyone have any questions or anything else at this point?
Not at the moment. You're doing good.
Hey,
All
Deb,
righty.
Deb, I have a question. When you when you go back up to like your page Roman numeral 4 or even chapter
Okay,
1,
sure.
either way, go right in front of the word list. There's like that caret that
Oh, yes. So all that does is it just expands out or shrinks.
so it collapses like.
Yeah, and don't get wrapped around the axle on that one. That is just Word does that. And when you start to have one of these documents that's reaching 150 pages, this is actually really helpful because if you go into all these header ones and collapse them all, you'll be like 70 pages in, but it's only looking like the 3rd page and you can ignore all the stuff that came before it. So the ability to collapse and expand is actually really helpful as your document gets to be huge.
Okay, so that's already built in, right?
Yes, it's built in as part of the header.
Okay. All right,
yeah,
perfect.
and when it's pointing this direction, So yeah, you can sort of take a look at it. I've got to hover over it in order to see the caret. But when it's pointing in that direction, it's expanded. And when it's pointing in that direction, it's collapsed. This list of figures is actually a completely separate page. But when you've collapsed it, it brings it all up so that you can just see. So if it
Gotcha.
looks at some point like your words have all disappeared, you're probably just collapsed at that header 1 level. All you have to do is click the triangle as you're hovering over the title and it comes back.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure that was
Yeah,
built
no,
in
that's a good
automatically.
question.
You didn't. Okay, thanks.
Yep. One thing I want to show you, I've seen in some students, I seriously am in teacher mode and I am sorry. But I've seen in some people's papers, see this little paragraph marking thing up in the toolbar that I just clicked on? That shows you all of the markups. See this page break? This page break is important. Do not ever start a new page by hitting enter 12 times to get to the top of the next page. The reason for that is because as you add things, I'm sure you've experienced it, as you add lines or if you reduce something, suddenly your pages are all messed up and you have to go in and either delete extra spaces or add extra spaces to get your headers at the top of the next page. The way you get this page break is, let me just go to the bottom and I'll just add on to the current appendix. So let's say I'm doing another appendix and I just finished this one. I have nothing left to do and I'm going to hit enter. So this little symbol means enter. What I've seen some people doing is to get to the next page, they hit a gazillion enters. The way you should do it, always, let me delete those, is you press down and hold Control, then hit enter. And you're now at the top of the next page automatically. So no matter what, this next thing that I type will always be the top of its own next page. And I know that that happened because I get told in this markup that I hit a page break. Page break is, again, press and hold Control, hit enter. You instantly go to the bottom of, the top of the next page. All right, I'm going to turn these off because I really don't actually want to see them all the time. But it is a good way to turn on and just see what's happening with your document if things are starting to do things and you don't understand why it's behaving the way it's behaving. I don't use that often, but I will sometimes check on sort of the code behind the document to see where something is changing formatting. All right, so that was another important thing, and we're going to go through how to add tables and figures. It's a little bit fussy to add tables and figures and give them the titles and captions that they need, but it's really, really important because if you go into a document, let me just show you what would happen. I'm going to do it on this page. I'm just going to pretend that this page has, I'm going to add a picture. So we're going to pretend these are figures. Online picture. No, yeah, okay. Online pictures are fine. I'm going to choose an apple. No, I don't want a gazillion apples. Hang on. Pictures, this device. Pictures. Let's see, what do I want to use? Sure, why not? Photos of my father. We're going to use a picture of their wedding. All right. So picture of my mom and my dad. If you go in and just say, okay, I'm going to do this manually. I'm going to hit enter. Move this down a line. Sorry, hang on. There we go. And now I'm just going to type. I'm going to type title of the picture. If I'm going to spell it right. Title of the picture and, title of picture, and then we'll call it figure 1. All right, so I'm just going to manually go in and I'm going to say, all right, we're going to make that bold because that's supposed to be bold. And then title of the picture, that's supposed to be italics. All right, so I've got this thing that is set up correctly for APA, but I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go to my table of contents. The way you update your table of contents when you make a change is you right click on it and you go to update field. Always update the entire table, because if you just do update page numbers only, but you've added sections or you've added headers, those won't come in. It'll just update the page numbers that you've already done. So always just choose update entire table and I say, okay. Well, nothing changed. I've added a figure and it's not there. If I come down here to figures, list of figures, right click on this, update field, nothing changed. So if you do it manually, nothing is going to happen. It's not going to behave the way it's supposed to. So what you have to do, we're going to get rid of that because that was manual, that was bad. To add a figure or add a table, and the process is exactly the same, no matter what. So you right click on it and you'll see this option for insert caption. Click on that and this window comes up. If it's a figure, you're going to leave it as figure. See how it says options label and it says figure? If I want it to be a figure, I leave that alone and I just say, okay. If I want it to be a table, this is where I change it and say, okay, it's not a figure, it's a table. And you'll see up here, the caption just changed. I've already set up in the template the correct format. It will be left justified. It will be bold. So that is what you're going to do. We'll call this a figure. So let me put it back to being a figure. And we're going to say, okay. So now it says figure 1. This is what I want. This is also an automatic function. Now here's where it gets weird. In order for the table of contents to say figure 1 and the title and the page number all on one line, you have to do it this way. I have it in the instructions. So it is written there, but we're going to do this. You're going to press and hold shift and then hit enter 2 times. So press and hold shift, enter 2 times, and then write the title of the picture. Then what you're going to do is highlight this, come up to these headings. You can right here at the bottom over to the right side of these headings, there's a little downward facing arrow with a line on top. Click that, which will then expand out all of the available headers. Right here it says table figure title. Click on that. It turns it to italics. Unfortunately, it keeps it bold and there's nothing I can do about that because right now with that shift enter, these 2 lines are actually still tied together without a real hard return. So it's a soft return, which in the computer's thoughts, it's still part of the same line. So anyway, these 2 lines in the computer's language are still on the same line. That's why when I update that list of figures, it's all going to be on a single line and not be listed as 2 separate items. But the shift enter does allow it to look like it is 2 completely separate items. So it will look like it's supposed to for the APA format. But because it's still bold, I do have to manually go up and just unbold it. It's a little bit fussy, it's a little bit annoying, but trust me, in the end, it is so worth doing. All right, so now I've got figure 1, I've got title of picture, I have my image. Now, let's see, I'm going to add a note. So I'm just going to write the word note, period, because that's how you do notes. And this is a note. And you can come up here because what's going to happen right now is this is in the main format where it's going to be indented on the first line and the second line is going to go back over to the left margin. With notes for figures and tables, you don't want that. You want them left justified under each other, all of the lines. So highlight that again, come up here, expand out the styles and choose note for tables and figures. Click on that. And if I have additional information, as soon as I tappy, it will now be left justified under itself instead of coming back out to the margin. That's how you want your notes. Do keep in mind that you have to italicize the word note in your note. I could have added a style for that, but there's really no point. Just highlight because you're going to have to highlight anyway, and then just hit italics. All right, any questions on the figure before I go up and show you how this affects the list of figures? All right, we'll go up then. So going up to list of figures. So right now, even though I've told you guys that it does it automatically, it does, but you still have to update it so it'll show up. So I'm going to right click on this, update field. Instantly, we have figure 1 title of the picture, and it happens to be on page 6. This is where it's really going to save you guys time. Here's another cool thing. Let's add a different image. We're going to do a figure again, but I'm going to add it in front of this one because right now we've got figure 1. So I'm going to go to the beginning of it and hit enter a few times, and I'm going to just do another one. So let's insert another picture. It's going to be another picture of my dad because that's the folder that's going to open. So we'll do a picture of him when he was a little boy. My poor father has no idea I'm doing this. All right, let me bring it down. Actually, I don't need to bring anything down. Sorry. So I've got my image again. I'm going to do another figure. Remember, this one is currently figure 1. So just insert my caption, figure 1, figure, that's all good. Okay, so I've got my figure. Again, shift, enter, enter. New photo that becomes figure 1. By the way, notice this is now figure 1. I didn't do anything here. It's already updated the original figure that I entered as figure 2. It will renumber every one of your figures. It will renumber every one of your tables based on what you are inserting and where. So you can work on different chapters at different times and add new figures and add new tables. And Word is keeping track of your numbering for you. It keeps track of your page numbers. It keeps track of your headers. It keeps track of what figure you're on, and it renumbers everything that needs to be renumbered. It's really pretty awesome. All right, so again, I do have to highlight this. Come up here. I'm going to call it table figure title thingy. And I'm going to come back up and unbold it because that second line is not supposed to be bold. I'm not going to bother with a note because you guys have seen notes. All right, so now I come back up. So we've already seen that figure 1 and figure 2 are in the correct order. They're formatted correctly. Again, it did not automatically update to see it, but it is in there. You just right click, update field, update entire table. And there we have now figure 1 and figure 2 all on the same line. And this figure 1 and new title and figure 2 all being on the same line, this is why you're doing shift enter in order to get all of that on one line. If let me show you really quickly what would happen if I came in and did it as a separate thing. So let me hit return. And I'm going to hit full on enter. Let me just verify that. Yep, that is now entered. All right, so I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to re-update this table. So because I did a hard return, the name of the title disappeared. This is the reason why you have to do shift enter, is so that the computer still thinks it's all part of the same title. All right. I'm not going to show you tables just because it's done exactly the same way. You can enter your table, format it, and then right click on the table and you again have that exact same option to insert a caption. Always insert a caption. Do not do it manually. And then it will update for you. I realized when I did that workshop that I forgot to show you something extremely important with regard to tables and forms. So I showed you how to add the images, call them figures, add the titles, do the formatting, how to move them around and keep that number sequence going in order automatically by Word. Here's one thing I forgot to tell you. I forgot to tell you how to reference those figures and tables in the text using a cross-reference so that Word will update those numbers and keep track of which figures you're talking about and what their new numbers are as you're adding all of these new tables and figures. So I'm going to create a brand new document here. I'm going to bring in some images. You're going to see that process again about how to add them, give them titles, give them captions, etc. And then I'm going to show you how to deal with them in text. So here's my paragraph. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit enter a couple times just to get a little space. And I'm going to add my first image. So I'm going to go ahead and insert pictures, this device. I'm going to use some traffic signals. All right, we're going to use slippery road, insert that. I want it to be pretty small, so that's good, but I'm going to even make it a little smaller just because I want to keep everything on the same page so that you can see what's happening as we go through it. So right-clicking on it, insert caption. You've already seen this figure. It's all above, all good. Okay. With this new template that I'm putting out, I have made it so that this automatic numbering system and all cross references are highlighted in gray. Do not try and unhighlight them. I want them to stay that way because as you're going through your document, you want to see what you have automatically formatted and what you may have accidentally hand typed. So I'll show you what I'm talking about in a little bit, but do not try and undo this highlighting. It's part of the system and it's just a toggle switch that I've turned on in the template so that you can always see your cross references and your automatic numbering systems. You want that. All right, so figure 1, I'm going to go ahead and do the shift, enter, enter, and I'm going to say slippery road. Whoops, let's spell things right. Okay, highlight it, unbold, italicize, and there's our first image. So here's my paragraph. And I'm talking about a slippery, road. C, and this is where you would normally type figure 1. If you do it this way, this is hand typed. You can't automatically change it. If I add a new figure 1, there's no way to update this other than come back and find it and change it manually. You do not want to have to do that. So we're going to get rid of figure 1. So we'll type the C, we'll type the parentheses, we'll include the period, we'll also include the space. But now we're going to do a cross-reference to figure 1. This will tie the text to the figure title and it will keep them in lockstep. If figure 1 changes to figure 5 or figure 6, and you then do an update of all of your cross-references, Word knows which figure you're talking about, and it will change figure 1 to figure 6 so that it matches. And we'll go ahead and see that. So right now I've just typed C, come up to the References tab, and this right here, cross-reference, we're going to click on that. That brings up this cross-reference window. I'm going to move it over to the side so that you can see what's happening behind, because if you just keep the window over your text and you start hitting insert when the time comes, you won't see anything happening. It's happening behind the window, and you can wind up with C, figure 1, figure 1, figure 1 for every time you hit insert, and you don't want that. So we just want one figure 1. So I'm going to show you how that works. So first of all, we're using figures. So that's fine. If we were using tables, you would click on table, but we are doing a figure. So figure. Right here, insert reference to. Right now it says entire caption. You don't want that. You don't want the whole thing. You just want the label and number. Label is figure, number is number 1, number 2, whatever. So figure 1 is all that will come over, which is what you want for the APA. So we're going to click on that. Right now we only have one figure, so it's only one figure showing up in the list, so it's already highlighted. We're going to go ahead and click insert. Watch this window when I do that, because nothing happens here. But watch the page and you'll see right here next to C, suddenly figure 1 gets entered and it's going to come in fully highlighted because it's automatic formatting. So I'm going to click insert now, click, and there it is. Figure 1 came in, it's dark highlighted, so you know it was automatically generated by the computer. This figure 1 is tied to this figure 1. This window didn't go away when I clicked insert, so you have to actually manage by clicking close. All right, I'm going to enter a new one. So right here, my cursor is, so I'm going to hit insert. We're going to add another picture. This device, I'm going to do two-way traffic. Insert, I'm going to make it smaller just because I want to keep everything on one page. That's really small. All right, right click, insert caption. Now this will be the new figure 1. So watch what happens to this figure 1 and this figure 1. Two different things are going to happen. All right, I'm going to click OK. All right, so the thing that happened automatically is figure 1 and figure 2. This used to say figure 1. Now it says figure 2. That's automatic. This, however, did not change. That's because you have to go in after you change these figures and you have to tell your entire document, update all of my figure numbers so that they are now correct. But that won't change on its own. You can, if you know exactly which figure it is and you know there's only one of them and only one thing has to change, we could right click on this and just update, but we want to update the whole document, because if you've got 30 figures and you're adding a new figure into the number 4 position, well, not only does number 4 need to get added, but every single figure after number 4 has to be updated as well, because the old number 4 is now 5. The old number 8 is now 9. The old number 30 is now 31. So we want to do that all at once. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and continue labeling my figure. Shift, enter, enter. And this is two-way traffic. All right, I'm going to highlight it, unbold, make it italics. All right, so this is my new figure 1. So obviously, since you always reference your figures in order in your text, it's obviously going in here. So this is my comment on two-way traffic. C, I'm going to just close the parentheses, put the period. I'll move here, click, space, because this is where we're going to enter the new figure 1. Keep watching this. All right, so reference, cross-reference, we're adding figure 1, insert. All right, so we now have C figure 1 for our two-way traffic. This slippery road, yes, I know it says sippery, I'll change that in a second, but this slippery road still says figure 1. I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to show you how to update your entire document. So on your keyboard, just press and hold Control and click A for all. All right, now we're going to right click on figure 1. Well, I'll right click on this one because we know it needs to change, but you could click on either one. And we're going to update field. Update entire table. And there you go. So figure 1, figure 2, figure 1, figure 2. I'm going to undo that because I want to show you doing multiple updates at the same time. So we're going to go back to 2 figure 1s in that text, even though that's not what we really want. All right, so now we are back to our 2 figure 1s. It's as if I never did that update. I'm going to add another paragraph or another figure. Forgot the name for a second. All right, insert. This device, what do I've already used? Slippery and two-way. We're going to go for a nice divided highway ending. All right, so shrink it down again, right click, insert caption. At least you're getting to see insert caption a whole bunch. All right, shift, enter, enter. And then even though it's divided highway ending, I'm just going to name it divided highway. All right. Unbold, make it italics. All right, so obviously this is now figure 1, so it's going to be up here. So divided highways are so cool. Parentheses, period, type, C, space. And of course, you now know references, cross-reference. This is now our new figure 1 divided highway, insert. All right, close. So at this point, we have 3 references to figure 1. Clearly, 2 of them are wrong. So I'm going to do Control A, and I can click on any of them. I'll go ahead and click on the first one. So that's a right click, update field, update entire table. Okay, and see you have 1, 2, 3. All of them updated at the exact same time. And our divided highways matches figure 1. Our two-way traffic matches figure 2, and our, I told you I'd fix it, so here we go, slippery. Our slippery road is now figure 3. So Word will keep track of that for you. And that's really important to do because once we get to our dissertations and they're incredibly long and we are adding things in, then we want to make sure that all of our figures are referencing the right places in our text. So that's really important. All right, any questions to this point before I just start going over headers?
No.
Okie dokie. All right, so headers. Let me go down to another page, and there we are. We'll start with headers here. So if I want to do another header 1, I just have my cursor, expand it out, heading 1. You'll see I've automatically been centered. Oops, let's spell heading right. Heading 1. As soon as I hit enter, I have it set up so that it immediately, whoops, I thought I had it set up so that it immediately, yeah, there it is. I don't know why it didn't do it correctly. After you enter one of these headers, it will shift itself to body. Body is set up so that it's indented first line and then goes back to the margin. So that's just your normal content and it defaults to that body. So this is just, you know, what it looks like. But if I wanted this to be a header 2, I could highlight it, just come up here and hit header 2. Now it's left justified. It's still bold, which is correct. And now it's a header 2. Of course, now it says header 1 and it's header 2. So might as well rename it. So that's now a heading 2. So now let's just make it a header 3. And I'm going to stop at this level. I'm not going to go all the way to 5. But you'll see that with header 3, now it is still bold, but it's italicized, which is the exact format of an APA header 3. But let's take a look at what those headers are doing in the table of contents. Right click on this, update field, update entire table. Chapter 1 now has the to add tables and figures, which happens to be a level 2 header. And here's our header 3. So it is showing all of these things in the table of contents based on which headers you're using. So that's a huge concept. Do not go in and just type and select the correct formatting. Use the headers because your table of contents needs you to do that. Okay, let's see. Got all that. I've shown you the tables and figures. I've shown you the headers. All right, references actually does have a style as well. So just an FYI, for references, if you click on the title, you'll see that there is a white box showing up around header 1. So you can also click on these headers and it will tell you what format's being used. But you can come down here and select your thing. I'm just going to temporarily make it body. So now it's doing the 0.5 inch indent and going to the rest of the line. But we don't want that. We want it to be in the references format where it's hanging. So click on that, choose reference, and it automatically formats it the way it's supposed to. This is a big deal because sometimes when you copy a reference from another source, it'll come in with all kinds of weird formatting, and it's nice to be able to just highlight the thing and choose references as your style, and it automatically puts it in. If you take a look at a normal Word document and you take a look at what all these styles are, they're not set up for APA. This was something where I originally started, sorry, every time I hover over this stuff, it's changing the format of where I am. But anyway, if you look at a normal document, it uses standard default Microsoft formats. I did go into the Wilmington University template for papers originally, and then started removing everything that's not used by APA and adding new stuff. So this is, I wish that Wilmington added, or not added, provided a dissertation template. They don't seem to. But honestly, at this point, even if they did, I'd still be using this. I've done a lot of tweaking to it. All right, I think I have shown you everything I need to actually show you guys. So now I will just take questions and requests for how do you do this or how do you do that?
I don't have any questions, Deb, but this was excellent. Thank you for all your work. It was really good.
Okay, just as you, I guess the one thing I want to caution you is as you're using this, I urge you, do not try and fight with it. If you're having any problems, reach out to me, because if while fighting with it, if you accidentally break something, it will start behaving badly and you might not understand why. So don't spend a lot of time fighting with anything in Word. If you run into a problem, just ask me and I can probably help you pretty quickly.
Okay. Yeah, there was a lot that you discussed about don't do this manually, because that's
Yeah.
exactly what I would have done.
I
So-
know. Yeah. And when you get to a really long document, you do not want to try and do it manually, especially since every time you add something, you'll wind up with different page numbers and all kinds of stuff. It's,
Mhm.
yeah, sorry. There is something I need to show you with the appendix. So the appendix is actually somewhat similar to the adding the captions to the images and the tables. The reason is, once again, we want that appendix and the title to be showing up on the same line. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a second appendix. Again, I'm just going to hit Control Enter. That gets me to the top of a brand new page. I'm going to go ahead and select heading 1. We're going to call it Appendix B. Do not hit enter here. Do not keep it as header 1. I mean, you will keep it as header 1, but don't hit enter to do it. Hit shift enter. That brings you down the line. And then I'm just going to give it my title for my appendix. And this is correctly bold in the middle right now. So what you're going to do at this point is hit enter. You've got your body, blah, blah, blah. So you now have your appendix B and your title for that appendix. I'm going to go up to the table of contents and update field. Entire table. And again, you've got appendix B, title for my appendix. If you hit enter to get to that next line, this is where it winds up looking like two completely separate items. I'm going to hit enter this time. Backspace just to put them back separate. So APA, it looks exactly the way it's supposed to, just like it did before, but the code behind it has changed. Word now reads that as two completely separate items on the same page because they're both header 1s. And header 1s are treated like separate items. So update field, update entire table. So just by putting in that hard return, appendix B and title for my appendix are now two separate items, both on page 6. So that's why you have to do shift enter, is so that appendix B will be kept with its title of title for my appendix. Okay, now I think I covered everything. Any questions?
No, but I like
No.
the pictures of your dad. He's always smiling.
Yeah, he's a good guy. The one thing I just want to say, even though I've already said it, I'll say it again. This will not, nor will this, update instantly every time you do something. You do have to come back and hit the right click, update field, and update entire table to see the changes, but it will keep track of them for you. And there was something else I was going to say about, oh yeah, you can go into this table of contents and, sorry, let me click outside. And let's say I don't want any bold. And so I can hit bold and then, well, maybe we're going to pretend I wanted it to be italics. Of course I don't. So I've now made this italics, yay, nice and pretty. As soon as I make any kind of change, let me just temporarily make this a header 2. Heading 2. Okay, so now that's a heading 2 instead of just my content. So I've got this lovely italics. I like my italics. I right click on it. I say update the field, update the entire table. Okay. It updates my heading 2 and now my lovely italics are gone. So never waste time changing the formatting of these automatic table of contents or lists of tables and figures, because your pretty formatting is going to go away the next time you update it. So don't fight with it. If you ever see that you've got like extra lines in between some of these items, that is telling you that in your actual document, you have some extra lines and spaces that shouldn't be there. So that's the other reason you need to use Control Enter to start new page breaks instead of Enter, 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 Enter. If you did header 1 and then had 5 enters before your next heading, the table of contents would show you those lines, those empty lines, and it would look really weird. So that's, if you've got weird stuff happening in your table of contents, it tells me that you've got weird stuff going on in your document. This is just a reflection of the formatting that you have used in your document. So if you ever see in your table of contents, things are really strange and you can't figure out why, email it to me or do a Zoom and I'll find it and I'll help you fix it. Ah, Laura is now inside.
Yes.
So how do you guys feel right now about this? I know some of you are a little less comfortable with Word than others. Have I scared the hell out of you and you don't know what questions you have, or did that make sense?
Deb, it made a lot of sense, and thank you. I just have to play around with it for a little bit. I probably will have some questions for you or to the group to see what I'm doing right or wrong. Okay?
Yep, no
Thanks.
problem.
That was outstanding. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, there was more automation than I realized.
Oh, this is
You know.
only breaking the surface. It's incredible what Word can do.
Wow. Yeah. No, it was great. Thanks, Deb.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
sure I'll be reaching out, so.
No problem.